All right, gentlemen, I promised you, so we are good to go. I have my cup of coffee here. Arnold is also represented. Naftali is also so we are good. We are good.
Thank you.
I
would have said something, but I love peace.
No, you love peace.
Yeah,
peace is paramount. Peace is paramount. Okay, let's continue. I know what you wanted to say. I know what you wanted to say. Okay, so on the front page of the Standard, gentlemen, for the sake of Kenyans, this has been a controversy for quite some time. The opposition raised it. It had some court battles back and forth, but that now the government is now aiming to collect at least 90 billion shillings. 78 billion is the amount that was collected through the levy, and is also expected to grow, as per the Standard, to grow gradually to 70 billion shillings in the year 2024-2025 financial year, and 78 billion shillings in the year 2025-2026. But the target is 90 billion shillings. Naftali, let's take it away. What do you make of this now? Finally, it's going to the president's signature.
Let it be crystal clear that this housing bill has merits and demerits. But as time goes by, we find out that merits are more or superior than the demerits one. The reason why I'm saying this, I have found, and I'm glad that I have a president who is characterized by decision and firmness. The president, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is unmistakable, because he began this housing bill through the campaigns, and one of the items in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is to afford Kenyans what we call affordable housing. Every Kenyan to acquire what? A house, to access a house, because housing is a problem in Kenya. The president today is expected to perform his right and the power as far as Article 131 is concerned. Authority of the president is inclined to function effectively as a president through the functions of the president. So when you look at Article 159, a presidential referral, I mean presidential asset and a referral. There are two things. Number one, the president today may assent to the bill or refer the bill back to parliament, because this is the procedure laid down under Article 115 in regard to presidential assent and a referral. So we cannot assume that he's going to assent. He may refer it back, because the stipulations are within 14 days after the receipt of the bill. Then the president looks at it, because we have given him the authority. Then he sees whether he can assent or he refers to back to parliament. But whichever the case, if he refers back to parliament and then the parliament again passes it with regard to recommendations he has put again, the president, even if he does not assent, let the people of Kenya know that once a bill has been passed by parliament, if the president does not assent to the bill, then within the expiry of that period, the bill will be assumed to be assented. So let me echo what my colleague Arnold Maliba has elaborated. Many people opposed this program prematurely. Many Kenyans, and it resulted from a clique of politicians. So most of the people are opposing the housing bill, not because they know what it entails, but because they have had someone whom they consider as their politician, I've said. The bill, the housing bill, is what we call now economic and social right. It is a fundamental duty of the state and every state organ to observe, respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights and the fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights. And housing, adequate, accessible and adequate housing is one of those economic and social rights. So the president, because he's the leader, is the head of state and the government, ought to come with these policies, and this is one of the best policies. So let us give him time to assent to this bill or to make recommendations to parliament, then to do what? To ameliorate any other factors, but let the people of Kenya know that this is one of the best bills that we will have. What I had my major concern is that just unfair part of the bill was, you know, when you deduct public officers, there's salaries only. We have today a person who has a mkokoteni or who goes to Jengo. Every day they earn 2K.
Yes.
So in 30 days, they will be earning 60K. This person will not be deducted. But a person who is employed and who has a payroll is now eligible to be what? To be deducted. That was some unfairness in it. But what Arnold Maliba is saying, that there is a bit some compensation after some period of time, it is welcome. But now, what about these Kenyans who are not going to be deducted? Is it fair, Mr. Oloo?
Yeah, that was one of the cases that the reason why this case went to court. The unfairness in terms of deduction and discrimination.
It was this, the argument that the levy would only be quote-unquote levied on those who actually are employed. We're talking about the pay-as-you-earn people,
yes.
PE.
Yeah.
That's about 3.7 million Kenyans. Has been that particular issue has been dealt with by a provision that provides for policies that then bring in all the others. There was actually a window for voluntary joining. But you see, if that particular argument for me, I still feel has got a little bit of lameness. And the judiciary should take care to stay away from the province of legislation. You will see a lot of times judges almost going to a point where they describe the detail of what should be done. That is, in my opinion, an attempt at encroaching on the space of the legislature, which is actually an independent. We might talk about the ruling on IBC, but later on, especially when it comes to quorum. If you read that High Court ruling, it's so deep that literally the judge almost went to the level where he describes what the reading of the amendment should be, which really,
maybe it was what we call oxygen or Kenya.
No, I'm just saying, away from that. So generally, the judiciary, of course, judges have got decisional independence. They've got the room to do whatever they want to do. But they should take care to avoid straying in what I call the province of legislation. Otherwise, then, if they do that particular work, why do we have legislators?
Yes.
So there are a few issues here, like the issue of compensation was there. But this project is largely decampaigned by, is actually unpopular, not because we have actually looked at the merits and the demerits. It's unpopular because it has been decampaigned by a clique of individuals who have not seen anything good in it. But that is not how you grow a country. All of us have to contribute. By the way, for example, if you're talking about discrimination, why are those of us who are employed only charged pay as you earn?
Sure.
Yeah, wouldn't pay as you earn also be looked at as discriminating? Sure. There are kind of levies that you pay, by the way, Victor, that are only unique to you. So if in trying to raise resources, the sovereignty that actually is in Article 1, that all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya, is actually premised in two things. That we meet our responsibilities as a people and share the benefits thereof again as a people. So it's easy, and I think for the last 10 years, we have actually taken on to freeloading. In provision of public goods, if you're looking at public policy, there's a concept called freeloading, where you're going to have a few people who benefit from or rather some people who benefit from a public good, but they do not contribute in any way. So the national freeloading syndrome had actually shown up where people are angry and they will always call for a subsidy, not thinking that that particular subsidy contributes to the national debt. So we don't want to contribute to the financing of projects, but we want those particular projects to be implemented. And you wonder, where are we going to get that particular financing? That is, and it's a new creep, what I call, we are creeping into an area that can only be called freeloading. So, of course, it was decampaigned, but that is the nature of politics. But generally, we want jobs. At least 1 million jobs out of this particular process, which is fair. By the way, there are people out here, if you are telling them that we stopped the housing, for example, let me give an example. If you stopped housing and somebody is working on it. That's how he's paying his rent. That's how he's feeding his children and taking them to school. And you tell that particular individual, this is the rule of law. Now, imagine going to your children and telling them, we will go hungry because of the rule of law. We will go hungry. You will not go to school because there is some rule of law here. So, again, I will still go back to the place where the judiciary also needs to take care not to stray into spaces that are policy. That is still also, it's a sensitive one. It's a gray area, yes. Just the same way Parliament should also avoid making some mistakes around here. But I'm hoping that since we actually have done amends, according to the proposal that was given to us in court, we hope that we will not have a lot of challenges in this. And Naftali was saying that we don't know whether there will be a referral or an assent to the law. I come from the party, and I can tell you that we are assenting to the law. So be rest assured that that is what the president is doing. We are sending to this law because this project is actually late in the day. We want to employ 1 million Kenyans.
Naftali, do you copy that?
We want to get 200,000. We want to have 200,000 housing units.
Yes.
Because the land equation, and by extension, not by extension, but incidental to that, is that the housing sector in Nairobi and generally in Kenya is actually lopsided. 60 years since we got independence, we only have got 20,000 functional mortgages. A country of 55 million people with 20,000 mortgages is actually a failure. It means that the private sector in and of itself is unable to take care of that need. 60% of Nairobians, for example, live on 5% of the land mass in Nairobi. We still pay for that because when people are in slums, we pay by way of security. In those areas, these are so much problems. So we pay extra for that. There is a problem with health. We pay through other means. So why, in the spirit of Article 43, it's an aspiration of a country that everybody, and this is for me the third and final liberation, Article 43, that the first liberation is what we got, the independence we had. The second liberation is embodied in the Constitution 2010 by way of having a progressive governance, democracy.
Yeah.
But the third and final liberation is that those two should count by way of reflecting in our pockets the quality of our lives. Being in a free country, having a progressive constitution, having a country where we can say anything and do anything like we want, is not enough if it does not translate into our lives.
Okay.
And this is one way of getting there. And if you build 1 million houses, for example, units, you radically change this country. I just want to finish by saying this. I was a teenager of age when Kibaki came to power. I know how some of the popular decisions he did, that by 2005, he was so unpopular. I'll give you an example. When houses were going down as we were opening up these bypasses that people now enjoy, and credit Kibaki and say that he was so progressive, there was hue and cry that in 2005, they said Kenyans were getting poorer and the nation had lost the hope it had. But today, Victor, all of us love all those missing links. We are using those bypasses. It's now even part and parcel of our language as we speak. But as the houses were going down on people who had encroached on it, I remember Nakumatt going down on a Saturday on Thika Road as we opened up Thika Superhighway, and the noises everywhere. Today, we are seeing the importance then, because people had encroached on road reserves. There are places where entirely, like in Karen, the whole road that you see, the bypass that goes through, the southern bypass that goes through Karen, was actually land and plots owned by people. So, but today we use that. So, this could be, there has been a little bit of the campaigning around this project, but it's not entirely as bad as people have actually painted out there.
Yeah.
It's a legacy project for the president, but it has got the potential of turning this country upside down. In 10 years, we will figure out those people wenye mnasema watapatiwa kazi ya mjengo ya siku kidogo. We will know what to do with them after 10 years. But for the time being, since they are willing and they want those particular jobs, let them do it.
But then the question is, so Justin Muturi, who is the chief government legal officer, did write a letter to the KRA saying that collecting of the tax levy was still unconstitutional. So after sending to this bill, is it going to negate Muturi's letter?
Those are housekeeping.
No, okay.
Those are housekeeping stuff.
Answer this.
Let me begin from where my brother Arnold has left. Because my brother has just done it in a clear and expressive language as far as public policy making and public policy administration are concerned. But what I want to just give my weight on is that when you look at both public policy making and the public policy implementation, we need to look at Article 10.
Yes.
Because this is the national values and the principles of governance. That the national values and the principles of governance in this article bind all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons whenever any of them A, applies or interprets this constitution, B, enacts, applies or interprets another law, or C, implements or makes public policy decisions. So when my brother Arnold is trying to allude that when a judge is giving a verdict, then he should not go into detail, then he might not know that under Article 2, Sub-Article 4, any law, including customary law, that is inconsistent with this constitution is void to the extent of the inconsistency. And any act or omission in contravention to this constitution is invalid. Full stop. So it means then a judge, we have given the judges the power to interpret for us the law. So the judge then interprets this bill, the housing bill, because he goes into detail. What are these policies? Were there public participation? The judge has to go into detail. If the judge is not going into detail, then the people, the common wananchi, will not get what? Justice. Because we have given them that right and power to go into detail and see whether there was an omission in the creation of the housing bill, whether there were acts which were contrary to the constitution, because the constitution is the mother. These are the bills, these are the statutes, are just the kids. The mother, the constitution is the supreme, and the judiciary has that power now to interpret the law. So it is in order. Yes, the housing bill is very okay, but it has its flaws. What I'm liking about UDA and Arnold Maliba is that we have hope in this. Let us begin as it is. Then when days now unfolds, then we'll know where to fix some other things. But let us accept that if people have been deducted their salaries unconstitutionally previously, and the AG has also confirmed this, what will happen?
Which Arnold says that's
no, they get it to be paid. Because belatedly,
in-house issues.
Look at it, belatedly, if an advisory, and you know this is in-house, right? So if the editor, or rather the producer running the show, was supposed to inform you on how you run stuff and allows you to trip here and then sends you a belated advisory, end of it has a problem around it, but don't worry about that. That has been taken care of by law.
Okay.
What I actually was saying when I talk about the judiciary avoiding to stray into a territory that is not their own is when you read a ruling and you see a judge literally holding the hand of the legislature, literally on how they write. Like, let me give you an example. Slightly different from this. The IBC ruling, the High Court goes ahead and the writing of that particular ruling says this. Since it's already ruled upon, we can talk about it. And judgment should always be talked about. Its precedence, it informs law. It's actually even a source of law. So they are saying that initially it was about quorum, that the initial act had actually put the IBC Act quorum at half and not less than 3. So, of course, there was ambiguity there. Half of 7 people is 3.5, and there is no half a person. And then they said not less. So they said 2 people, if they are the majority of the quorum of 3 people meeting, is that they can run the way Chebukati and team ended up with that. So they then push, and if you see how it, the summary of the ruling is that literally they are forcing us to go to 5, and a decision can only be of a majority of not the quorum of the commission. So why do we have quorum, for example? What is the function of quorum? Quorum, the whole idea of having something called quorum is so that there's continuity of business. So even if you are not there, but then the decision made in here must also be, for example, you might not be there. So why should we then make a decision? So 3 people, for example, out of 5, if they were to pass a decision, remember quorum is 5, but if 3 people pass, they are a minority of the entire commission of 7. So then why are we having quorum? What is the object of having quorum if it cannot conduct business? That literally is forcing the hand of legislators. And that's why you see even the proposals made in that particular law now are forcing the legislators to go with that particular writing.
Yeah.
The good thing is that you can always go to court and challenge that. That's why I'm saying that a lot of times we have seen judges, or rather the judiciary, getting a little bit excited and moving into the province of legislation, which I think sometimes for administrative and procedural things really hurts. Like there's the thinking around corporate governance that informs this thing called quorum. We actually want to get to a place where we will be bringing in commissioners in a scattered manner so that there is continuity and we never have a vacuum the way we have now. So on a day when you have got 5 or 4 present and the other process is still going on of bringing in 3, for example, does it mean that we will need to go on? And remember, IBC does business that some of it is actually constitutional. Some of those timelines are so constitutional. So if, for example, we delay to procure kits because there was no quorum, as in the decision has to be that of a majority of the commission. So then we affect elections eventually. Some of these things are pushing us into anarchy, but then it's clear just to actually say that I wasn't really talking about the decisional independence is there, but the judiciary must know interpretation is not the same as legislation. A lot of times they are supposed to be interpreted.
Standard says that actually, as per the standard, there are billions that the government cannot afford to lose. That's as per standard's interpretation. So it's the president is expected to assent to bill today that makes it mandatory to tax. And then he continues that it is yet to be seen how non-salaried Kenyans will contribute to the levy. So this is the question which I also asked.
There's an act. There's a provision in, there's a section in that particular act that says that Parliament will actually enact policies on how to onboard the other people. Initially that wasn't there. So clearly it's provided for, and that is where now we're talking about we've increased the base, the funding base now, it's much bigger. But
now the question is, how is the government, okay, before you get into that, there's a projection here by the standard, just a figure, the target between 2023-2024 is 63.2 billion shillings. And then 2024-2025, 70 billion. What about 2025-26 is 78 billion shillings. And then finally, 2026-2027 is 89 billion. That is roughly 90 billion shillings, plus or minus. So the government is an annual deficit of 400,000 units in the country, 200,000. And then again, the 46,792 are the units under construction countrywide as we speak. According to standard, again, 40,000 housing units ready to commence construction, 40,000. And finally, 746,795 housing units in the pipeline. So that is work under construction. That is over around 800,000 houses in the pipeline. Gentlemen, the question is, based on the information that we have on the key features, I think you also have that, Arnold and Naftali, there is that aspect of expanded contribution base away from those employed only. Away. Explain to that, Arnold. Perhaps we can get that. And then how are they going to get that money? From, for example, Nyamongo said the Mkokoteni, a guy who comes from Marikiti to that side of Mombasa Road, how is he going to put his contribution to this?
Let's start here. When you are raising revenue as a government, normally you start with the low-lying fruits, which is much easier. So it's easy to actually come up with a framework on how to onboard the people who are employed. That's quite easy by simply then ensuring that employers do the submission together with the other statutory deductions. Then now, of course, the challenge has been that since 1992, the informal sector overtook the formal sector as the leading job creator. So we have got about 18 million Kenyans who are engaged productively. We have got about 6 million of them that are in higher institutions of higher learning. We're talking about individuals who are of working age, because as a country, if you look at the ILO data, we have got a labor force base of 24 million people, but just about 18 million of them are engaged. Out of that, about 4 million of them have got pay as you earn. Primarily, I think 3.7 million. The rest are in the informal sector. The word informal already denotes that it's a gray area. Sometimes we call it the gray sector. The data there is not so much out there. But now with the technology, with AI, phones and everything else, it's now becoming much easier for us to actually be able to know how the other people are making it. Now, that's where now we are coming up with that particular provision that states that Parliament will actually come up with policy that actually onboards the other people. There's the other part of voluntary contribution. And by the way, there are so many Kenyans who already had opted in. And that is why I'm telling everybody else I've actually met who's opposed to this, I'm telling them, oppose, but apply for a house. Because while you're opposing, houses are being built. We are already doing about 50,000 units, right? It will be shared to people, even as you go out there and oppose. Apply. I'm talking about what is currently being constructed.
Yeah.
And how are we distributing this? One KRA pin, one house. And we're talking about a KRA pin of people who are breathing. You can actually also sweep that and say, because you can actually have a KRA pin for an organization or a company. I'm talking about KRA pins for people with IDs, the breathing human beings. So one ID, one house. So even as you oppose and go out there, please go out, both for those people who want affordable housing and those who think they qualify for social housing. There's the element for social housing that then takes care of the other people whom, even if you were to work around that miraculously, they will not afford that.
Yes.
Please allow me to emphasize this, that 60 years since independence, as a country, we have got 20,000 functional mortgages only. It means the private sector is unable. That is why every single day we have got new slums springing up.
But because probably, you know, mortgage is also expensive.
Because look at this, the land equation in Nairobi is inverted.
Yeah.
It's 4 times the cost of land in Dar es Salaam, 7 times the cost of land in Addis Ababa. Speculators have held on to land. That's why we are liberating a little bit of public land,
Let's take a break.
putting in a house, and giving it to people without interest.
The hammer,
that then we change that.
The brick hammer has also fallen again on you again. Let's take a break, Arnold. We'll come back and talk more about this. But go on our social media. What's your social media on X?
At Maliba Arnold.
At Maliba Arnold. And Dr. Nyamongo, you have X account?
At Osfungus Nyamongo.
All right. Also, go there on at Victor Oloo, at KBC, and please tell us what do you think on this housing bill that's almost getting assented to become law by the president. Anytime from now, we'll get that live link. Please talk to us. Take a screenshot of you watching KBC, and of course, also give us your comment and contribution to this discussion. It's an issue that has been there for quite some time. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more after this. Stay with us. That's what you call a break, literally. That's what you call a break. A short break. All right. So talk to us on our social media handles. Please talk to me at Victor Oloo, at KBC. Tell us, what do you think about this housing debate? It's now almost getting assented to law. And it's very soon. Everybody is now going to, the salaried will be deducted 1.5% and to be matched by the employer. What is your take on that? We are having that live link anytime from now. And talk of that, there we have it. That is the preparation at State House in Nairobi. The president is almost getting his seat. That is a live image from State House. And anytime from now, it's going to be assented to. Our reporter, Giverson Maina, is in State House. Will give us more details later on in the day. And of course, that is our main discussion here, the housing levy. And of course, let me just take you through what are some of the key features here. We'll also discuss them later on. There's an expanded contribution base, Arnold, right? Away from those employed only. There is also a reduction from 2% to 1.5%. The county housing committees will also cater for county interests. There will be a refund for voluntary contributors in 90 days' time. Last but not least, the project targets jobs, affordable houses to eradicate slums and free up land for agriculture. And finally, we have project open for locals and Kenyans living in the diaspora. Let's take that live feed again from State House. That is where we'll be having that event anytime from now. The president and the entire government officials are also getting that. There we have it. Yes, there we have it. That is State House. Arnold, it's a talk, Naftali, it's a take for the government now. It's a done deal. Once that signature, pen on paper, it's a done deal. Yeah. What do we make on that?
Yeah, in the point of fact, the people of Kenya are going to be conferred prosperity and happiness upon the president assenting to this bill. Let it be clear like that. Many people may not understand, but let me assure you, the way you see, you hear Arnold Maliba put it, then the bill, as he discloses it, the bill appears to merit belief or acceptance. So what the people ought to do is to be patient with this regime, because this is a must-have for us.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying this, when you look at implementation of rights and fundamental freedoms, where now this bill is anchored, there's this word, Victor Oloo, which the framers of the Constitution have decided to anchor as part of the provision. And this now will derive what Arnold Maliba has been explaining. It is about progressive. The word is progressive. When you look at Article 21, Implementation of Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, Sub-Article 2, the state shall take legislative, policy, and other measures, including the setting of standards to achieve the progressive realization of the rights guaranteed under Article 43. So what is the meaning of progressive? When you look at the Oxford Dictionary, this progressive is applied first as an adjective, then as a noun. But the mind of the framers of the Constitution, the progressive here was applied as an adjective. The people of Kenya should know that progressive means favoring or promoting progress, favoring or promoting reform, gradually advancing in extent.
Yes.
So it must not look from the in law we say prima facie. Prima facie means as things looks at first sight. So at the first sight, it should not be consummate. It should not be perfect. No, it should be progressive.
Yeah.
Just as Arnold has said that there is a point now, after maybe 5 years, 10 years, they will bring other people on board. So this thing is perfect and complete in all respect. Let us give the president this opportunity to drive this nation to achieve for us what we call affordable housing, so that we can be in line with what we call sustainable development goals by the United Nations, because this is a must-have. In fact, the president has no other option rather than to implement this.
Would you call this his flagship project, Arnold?
Yes, it's a legacy project, a very important one. Not
of
just
which every president perhaps should have a legacy project.
There is need for housing. That is no question. That we have got a deficit of almost 250,000 houses falling in almost per year. The need is there. Like I've already told you, you have got 60% of Nairobians living on just 5% of Nairobi's landmass. For comparison, Victor, the roads in Nairobi occupy 11% of the landmass in Nairobi. Yet 60% of Nairobians live on less than half that. Those are the Kibras of this world, the Kangemis, Kawangware, Madare, and you realize that per meter, so many people are put together, and like I said, we pay by other means. Security, we lose human capital. There are places where people don't go beyond 24 years old. They're either in jail, they either have been killed somehow. So we pay as a nation through other ways. We want to also give everybody a chance by ensuring that if just by having decent housing in itself improves your health, puts you in proper social setting, we are good to go. So you can call it a flagship project, yes. It dates back to Vision 2030. As a country, we have got needs, and our needs don't change with the regimes that come in. What can only change is the strategy of achieving our needs, because our needs are almost similar throughout history as has been. But then when we bring in new people, we are bringing in new people who bring us new ideas, the strategies for which they actually are going to solve our problems. So not so much to allow politicians to get attached to the projects they do. It should be so much about how they are solving those problems. Because the health problem will always be there. We still now have got, as a country, we have got a problem with housing. Every president has tried to address that differently. there is a reason, of course, why we have got the National Housing Corporation, for example, being there for years, government houses, where the county, in the days of old, it was the county council in Nairobi, for example, had housing, and other county, not county, but the councils of old had their own way of housing. So here we are. As a people, what William Ruto has actually done is just pick the problems that we have and applied a different strategy, and he thinks it can work. Naftali here said that the president is quite decisive, and that's the truth. This decision is actually very unpopular because it has been decampaigned, but it's very necessary. So you're looking at either being politically correct for the purposes of winning applause, but also transforming a nation realistically. This concept of national transformation is a heavy one. You want to transform a country, but transformation is not easy. From the process of being a larva or a caterpillar into a butterfly. It's not an easy process. So we are at that particular age of caterpillars are not necessarily beautiful. Everybody loves a butterfly, but everybody hates caterpillars. Yet that is the process that then brings in the butterflies.
I love that example.
So we are at the caterpillar stage.
Yes.
After the caterpillar stage, we are moving on to, people will see those butterflies as they go around.
I know this question has been asked several times, gentlemen, but allow me to ask you, for the benefit of our viewers, and of course now it's almost becoming law. So what about that person who did not contribute, and you have a chance to, apply and get a house? You did not contribute, is now voluntary?
The platform is actually, the Bomayangu platform is already on. That's still the platform of allocation and engagement and moving forward. So later on in the day, of course, you will actually see a breakdown on the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, on how you can actually onboard. That is also part and parcel of why yesterday was a little bit of a delay, is that those platforms were supposed to actually go up. So later on in the day, you'll actually be told if you can actually be onboarded through USSD. USSD, any Kabambe phone can do. So you can't say, I don't have internet. You can actually be onboarded through USSD. I think later on the ministry will actually be doing that. The Bomayangu platform is still on. So it's open for everybody. That's what I'm telling, for people at home, young and old. Look at this. Whatever is deducted from you, at some point, you can actually reclaim it, and it will be given to you. So there is no loss. You either are getting the house, or you are also contributing to this and getting back your money. The reason why we have to pull this money is that we are trying to draw, or rather drink, from the power of pulling together. When we pull our resources together, we are able. Like, for example, you look at about 3 years ago, the study showed that we needed at least 250 billion shillings in 5 years to actually address housing. So we pull together the Harambee spirit. We still do that. We still form WhatsApp groups. We still go to chamas. We still talk to each other as a people. We are social beings, and that is the African socialism thing. So here we are doing it in policy, pulling together, but you have got your money back guarantee. In 90 days upon, once it becomes due, you can actually get that money. So it's either the house or your money. But then what is important is that all of us are contributing, are partaking in national transformation.
All right, so very good. A quick update, if you're just joining us, that is a live feed from State House in Nairobi. The president is expected to take his rightful seat there, the front table, to ascend to that that's affordable housing, I beg your pardon, affordable housing bill to law. And yes, every person who is salaried will now be required to contribute 1.5% of their gross, and that will be matched by the employer. Once that that has happened, so it's going to become law. And I don't know how it's going to pan out moving from there. The government has a target of, some substantial amount of money, from 70 billion shillings to 90 billion shillings at the end of 2026-2027 financial year. So the president is going to assent to it right now, and moving forward, it's going to be law. It has faced a lot of back and forth, court battles, and again, as per the standard, who is going to pull another first? Perhaps that is also still happening. I don't know whether somebody is going to challenge that. Can someone challenge someone that has been ascended to law? Naftali.
Oh, okay. That one now will bring us to Article 22, enforcement of the Bill of Rights, read together with Article 258, enforcement of this Constitution. It says simply that every person has the right to institute court proceedings claiming that the right or fundamental freedom in the Bill of Rights has been denied, violated, or infringed, or has been threatened.
Yes.
So if the Constitution has been denied, has been contravened, or has been what, or is threatened, then any citizen has that power or right to institute court proceedings at the High Court. You cannot deny a citizen that right. But you see, in your application of any redress, any redress, then we have now what we call objectivity. Are you objective? Why do you institute court proceedings? Is it normal? Is it usual? Is it applicable? Will it bring any good for you and for the people of Kenya? That is the public interest. You see, what we have today here is not a thing which is done to some individuals. It is about public. These are public things.
Yes.
This is our dream. This is our cherished desire. This is our will to succeed. At part 6 of the preamble speaks about recognizing for Kenya government based of human rights, equality, democracy, freedom, social justice, and the rule of law. So through this housing bill, we will get people access what? Houses. We want equality. We want everyone to own what? A house. We want people to have employment. Through this one, we will get this. Let me tell the people of Kenya that this is our dream. On 28 August 1963, the Honorable the late, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This is the best number one best speeches of USA. I have a dream speech. And you will allow me to extract an excerpt of this dream so that I can link to what is happening today. Because as just Arnold Maliba says, we are metamorphosizing. We are in the process of metamorphosis. So, in his own words, and you will allow me to quote Martin Luther King Jr., I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. And this dream is deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men were created equal. I have a dream that one day from the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will sit together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having its lips leaping out with words of interposition and nullification, one day right down in Alabama, little black boys and girls will be able to join hands with the little white boys and girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of God shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it all together. This is our hope. This is the faith I am going back to the south with. With this faith, we will be able to weave out the stone of despair, a hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. Full stop and unquote. So this is the right dream.
Hold there. Where? Arnold Maliba.
You've been taken to the mountain. I hope you've seen the promised land.
Do you know this gentleman?
The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther
Naftali has taken you to the mountain.
Yeah.
I hope you
Do you
have
know this gentleman?
Yeah. on the 28th August 1963, this speech, I have a dream speech, has never gotten out of number one under the best speeches, top 100. I have a dream. It is followed by the inaugural speech by...
Let me just move slightly on this side. Yes, perfect. Here we go. This is it. And Martin Luther King is... He just given us the entire speech.
No, it is an excerpt. It is an excerpt. I have extracted an excerpt of the speech, which captures now what the president is going to do for the people of Kenya. So every nation has a dream.
Bring it back home. We have got Martin here. Martin Luther. Please, bring it back home to...
I think what Naftali is trying to say...
Yes.
And I can try probably bring it home this way, is that I remember there is a woman who wept. She had been in this particular... When Obama was being sworn in, when President Obama was being sworn in, that woman said she did not expect that she would leave this in her lifetime, because she had been in that particular meeting when Martin was actually giving that particular speech.
Yes, yes.
And that President Obama's ascent to power was actually a realization of that dream.
Of that dream.
How many years down the line? Close to 60 years. And that's why that lady was actually weeping, because she could not believe that what looked like a dream then, so difficult. It's work in progress. A lot of the dreams we have in desires are worked on. Like I gave you an example earlier on. I said that all of us love butterflies.
Yeah.
We love to cherish butterflies.
But the process of metamorphosis.
But the process of metamorphosis is an ugly one. And a lot of us don't love caterpillars. It's one of those things. There's even, I don't know whether there's a specific phobia, but I know there is a caterpillar phobia where you might not sleep in a house if you saw one.
Millipede.
So, but then what does it do? That is the process that brings us that particular beautiful insect we call a butterfly. All those countries we desire were built in difficult situations. People gave their 1%, like the one we're going to give now. People gave their time. People gave their contribution. Not because they were always willing, not because it was always easy, but that is how you get to national transformation.
Yeah.
We cannot have a preamble that promises where we commit ourselves to a country that is progressive, a country that is developed. We cannot have Vision 2030 where we're talking about we want to be a middle-level country that people whose quality of life is high. We will work on it. It cannot. Dreams, if you dream and you go back to sleep, you will not realize that. But then every time you dream, you wake up and do that. And work is not easy. So what the president is doing today, the president is pushing forward on one thing. I have given you this example before. I grew up during a time when chloroquine and what is the other queen? There are so many queens. And quinines was still being used to treat malaria. That thing tastes like hell. I've never been to hell, but if there's anything that is closer to hell is the taste of quinine or chloroquine. So when my mother gives me that particular medicine, it's not that she hates me.
Yes.
It's because she wants me to be whole, and that is why I'm here talking. Most of us are here because we were injected. Even as an adult, I don't love injections. It's one of those things that I pray and think about it before I actually move into the injection room. But why do doctors do that? It's not because they hate us. It is a way of actually getting forward. So there has been a lot of decampaigning. There has been a lot of venom around this particular issue. So even as we do this, it will be important of us to also, as we criticize, I am telling everybody else, do not sleep on your laurels. Do not be carried away by the criticism and people saying, okay, so and so. I've seen somebody saying, oh, Data is going to court. You so and so is going to court. Even as they go, please apply for a house. You can actually be here opposing, but also applying for it, and you will still get it. Don't say, and people are telling us, oh, we have got houses at home and stuff. This is for posterity. Of course, you live your life only once, but this is for posterity. The countries we desire, the places we admire. Everybody else talks about the West having grown. Yeah. Apart from those who looted Africa to build that up, and we don't have other places where we can actually go and colonize people and get raw material to come and build here. We are now in a fair world, in an open and global village where all of us have to live by brotherliness for every humanity. So what is left of us as people is to work on the progress that we desire. I just want to encourage people, can we go slow on the negativity and allow a little bit of room? Because I do not think that there is any president who loves, or rather a politician who loves to oppress people. There's this feeling. Politicians love to be loved. Politicians love to be admired. So William Ruto, as a man who has never lost elections since 1997 himself, really wants to be re-elected. The president wants to actually be loved. But he knows that being loved alone is not the call that brings people to power. You never come to power just to be loved and clapped for. Okay. You come to power because you are supposed to actually transform a country. So if you're not going to actually do work, then you're going to end up in situations where there's nothing that can be done. You'll be seated here, getting appraisal. And by the way, populist leaders do not bring transformation. William Ruto has refused to become populist. He would rather be a builder of a nation. He would rather be part and parcel of the people that we look at as pillars that build this particular society than simply being around for the next election. This idea about threatening people about the next election, we are here to build a country. We are not here for the next election because you might not even be there in the next election, but Kenya will be there. So what kind of Kenya are you going to leave behind?
What legacy are you going to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So, in terms of, you talked about that issue of somebody can challenge, even when it's been assented to law. But let's talk about this one. That issue of, in terms of getting the project done and employing many people. Once that project is done and dusted, so you'll have, 100,000 youth who are employed, going back to their normal lives. But in as much as that is going to happen, look at it this way. When you have 1.5%, initially it was 2.5%, now coming to 1.5%. But still, nobody's still okay with that. I mean, you're still deducting someone's gross income. No one's still okay with that. Whether you deduct 20 shillings, 50, or even 100 shillings from somebody's salary, nobody would love that. But at the end of the day, as he puts it, chloroquine, quinine, and all that, the injection that he's so much, afraid of, you'll have to get healed at the same time. But the 1.5%, can still somebody go to court and say, wait a minute, this is not what I really want to be done to my salary?
Mr. Oloo, the good thing I like about Mr. Maliba, he has that trait of sincere and steadfast fixed of purpose. And in fact, this is what now, when you look at the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and their gusto, that hope which they have inspired. The body, the human body, God created our human body, our anatomy, in such a way that the food which we eat, the food that are bitter, which we eat, which will appear bitter, those are the food that make our body healthy. But those which are sweet, they destroy our body. It's just the same analogy with metamorphosis. So for you to get something good, it's like Abraham Lincoln says, gold is tested only through fire. So when you bring about 1%, the deductions ought to be there. In fact, deduction must be there because the Constitution itself under public finance authorizes the national government and the county government to impose taxes. So you cannot deny taxes. It is for your own benefit. It is for your own benefit. So when you are deducted money, do not think that this money is not is going to implement an agenda of other people. It is going to implement the agenda of the nation where you belong, you and I belong. So let us settle about this thing about the deduction. We have to feel the pinch for us to progress. We want a progress. We want to make what? Reforms. And these reforms must come through hard ways. So for us as a young nation, the patience we need and that determination and that quality of spirit which enables us to face danger or pain without showing fear is what will now encourage the president to work. Because I also agree with Mr. Maliba that the president is not a populist. He does not want it. Because I have heard him say some things which may offend other people. But when you look at now the implementation part of it, the practical is pragmatic. This president is the most pragmatic. He comes after, like, right away, he comes immediately after Mwai Kibaki. In fact, he's best after Mwai Kibaki. So given an opportunity, he may become our best president since independence.
Okay. So let's take a look at it. The live feed that we're having, we almost getting that. Everything has to be done in a particular way. So the president is coming to assent to that bill anytime from now, and that is live from State House. And you know, it's some kind of ceremony on its own, by the way. The Attorney General will have to be there. You said in-house that the Attorney General wrote a letter and said this and that, but it has to be there. He has to be there either way.
We are conducting the business of the state.
Yeah.
You do not expect the conducting to actually seem like a choir. That's not how it works. Actually, in and of itself, the instruments sometimes look like they are working against each other. But if you join them, you get the symphony that makes the harmony that you listen to music. So that was just a staccato. That particular letter, you look at the administration of state in a big way.
My question is not yet answered. Is it going to be an illegality now that
that's an advisory? The way you say it, the Attorney General is an advisor.
It was a legal advisory, yes. But does it still make this law
a legal
illegal?
Advisory. When you talk about advisory, the only thing that can actually make this law illegal or unconstitutional.
Or was it this way? Okay, let's take a look at this. Arnold, allow me to ask this question.
Yeah.
Before it was enacted, or before it's now assented to law now, was it illegal? And now after, now being assented to, now is going to be legal for KRA to collect?
The problem is that you cannot apply the law retrogressively. He'll tell you that.
Yes.
I think if I get the advisory very clear, the AG was telling KRA not to continue with the collection after the ruling of the court.
Yes.
And you know that in the previous month, we've not. There was a month where a lot of, and that can actually be corrected. That particular money can actually be moved on to the next month or something like that. So that will be worked out. I'm saying that is administrative, it will be worked out. It was an advisory after the ruling in court. Not that it invalidates this law.
Okay.
He actually was talking about the need for this law in that particular advisory, that we did not have a law and a framework at that particular point.
To collect.
Now we have got a law coming up. The president is assenting to that particular law.
You've answered
and
my
now
question.
we are good. So don't worry about that. I know there is the optics that come with the people in the same house not appearing to read from the same page.
Yeah.
But then the world was not made for plain surfaces. The world is beautiful because not everything is even.
You've answered me.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, my coffee has gone cold, and I also need to fill your cups. It's good enough. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. The president, we're still waiting for that link from State House anytime from now, and we'll give it live to you here on KBC. Let's take a break. I want to refill my cup and make it hot, man. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. You still go back and download the KBC app, and you will get everything at your fingertips, and of course on your phone. You got your tablet and everything. You'll get to understand from here. Again, this is where we have it happening here on KBC app. That's on Google Play Store or App Store, and you'll get every information. We are also live on our X account. It's formerly Twitter. Talk to us, and please tell us where you're watching us from and your take in as far as this is concerned at KBC Channel 1 News. This is what we have. Go there and tag us. Yes, this is a live feed. This is a live streaming. Yours truly, Oloo is there. So this is where we have it, affordable housing again. This, Naftali, do you know this gentleman here? And the other gentleman there, live streaming. You people, you're doing well. According to Arnold Maliba, we are doing quick one. Strategic Communications Advisor, UDA, there is need for housing. As a country, we have needs which don't change with the regimes that come in. What can only change is the strategy of achieving our needs. That's a nice quote. That's a nice quote. Of course, there you have it. 1 minute ago, yeah. Mehenga, all right? Every quote, very important. So you can also go there and talk to us on what is happening, everything that you really need to go. We talked about the issue of Margaret Nyamongo here. Again, the Auditor General, etc., etc. Continue watching and please talk to us. All right. So as we come to a close to this one, and we're also expecting that live feed from State House, as I correctly put it, the housing bill is finally coming home to become law. So what do you really expect? The opposition made a lot of noise about it, and all of a sudden everything went quiet. What really happened about it? Naftali, look at it this way. So Kenyans are going to do it. It's going to be law. It's going to be, you're going to contribute. What I really want to understand now, when this is now work in progress, the houses are ready. You can apply for the house, but can you sell the house once it's yours? Arnold, you'll also help me here. I've bought the house. Can you sell it, or it still belongs to the government? Will it still belong to the government, or?
The freedom of holding property and transacting in it has not been suspended. The Bill of Rights is actually intact. Nothing has changed. So if it's yours...
So once the house, I can buy 2-3 units?
No, you can't. I already told you. It's one ID, one house.
So I can buy the house and sell it if you want?
Yeah, but then of course you will be registered as a person who already got a house. So, but what you do with your property, of course, there is that politics around. You cannot sell the house after you've gotten it. That is neither here nor there. The Bill of Rights will trump that. So until we get there, we've not suspended the Bill of Rights. On ownership, transfer of property and everything else, the law remains intact. The Constitution is as is. So nothing changes after that. But the thing is this, that on allocation, it's one ID, one house. So there is no way where, Victor, you actually are going to amass money, help us here to, or rather, let me use this as an example, that we sit here, then we push the bill down, but you get 2-3 houses. So the thing is that only one ID gets one house. It's going to be fair. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's a very important question.
Yes.
Because after you have now owned the house, let's say after some years, this house now belongs to you, you Victor Oloo. Are you able to sell it, to dispose it, or can you give it to someone? So what Arnold is saying, this housing bill does not suspend the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
The Bill of Rights still remains to be an integral part of Kenya's democratic state, and is the framework for social, economic, and cultural policies.
Yes. There's a question here from a lady and asking, na singles wakipewa nyumba, then wawane. Arnold, you are single, you're not married, you buy a house, and then, from the other side, Pia Kuje, you buy a house. She also buy a house from the other side.
We didn't say one house, one family. We said one ID.
So this is the question. So you in the process, you get married. So what happens to the other house? You rent the other one? Or you sell the other one?
Victor, everybody wants an extra house. You have got children that are growing up. There are people who are leasing. Literally everybody, one of those businesses that is quote unquote very lucrative in this country is having rental houses. In fact, that will be a blessed couples. I think for people who are planning to get married out there,
yes.
If you're still young, ensure that your spouse has also registered for a house, so that if you miss, he gets, and if you both get,
Kenyans are creative.
Out of Kenya Kwanza's initiative, you start off, you hit it big.
We are overthinking, Naftali, Kenyans are overthinking.
So you should not date anyone who has not applied for this house. You should not date anyone who has not,
so
who has not contributed to the housing levy.
Do you have a house? Do you have a house already? No. If you don't have a house, you're paying for the affordable housing, please.
Yeah, so as in, even to transform the nation, to Saidia rise. If you are dating and somebody you are dating and opposite particular biashara, kata hiyo kitu, because you need a house for your children.
Interesting. Okay, Naftali, you wanted to say something about that?
Yeah.
I mean, are you thinking about your life choices? You want to go back to
your
initial stages of life?
My concern is about the people of Kenya, how they resonate. You see, the lady is going so deep, to think so deep, critically and intensively, instead of now spending her energy to just think about this simple implementation of the housing bill first. Let it be implemented. Let us see what it will do, the effects. Will it function effectively?
No, she's being futuristic.
That question is important. You know why it's
She's being
important?
futuristic.
It's just one way of looking at it. What happens to the other house, for example?
Yes.
Who doesn't need an extra house today? Tell me any person in Nairobi who will tell you, I have this house.
You can rent it out.
Niko na nyumba yenye situmii.
You can rent it out.
You can rent it out.
Yeah, you can rent it out. Okay. All right. I'm also reminded that we didn't take a look at the Star newspaper. I'm reminded that being unfair. Again, allow me, gentlemen, to do this for the sake of fairness and across board. Why trouble looms for feuding governors and DGs? Why trouble looms for feuding governors and DGs? On Thursday, senators kicked out Kisii deputy governor. That is Monda, ending row with the governor, Simba Arati. And in Kisii, we have got several counties now, troubled counties. We have Kericho, between Eric Mutai, governor, and his deputy, Fred Kirui. We have Trans Nzoia, George Natembeya, who is also walking a tightrope, quote-unquote tightrope, with Philomena Kapkori, who is the deputy governor. In Siaya, Orengo Senior Council, who is now a governor, also had his fair share with the William Oduol, deputy governor. And Meru, we all know the story of Meru, Kawira Mwangaza and his deputy, Isaac Mutuma, Machakos, Wavinya Ndeti and Francis Mwangangi. And why? This reminds me of the story in the Bible when Lucifer was still somewhere, a minister of, was it sanitation or something? And he thought to be smart enough. And he was told, you know what, you're not going to do this. But why the back and forth between the governors and DGs? Why? Let me get your point on this one, Wakili.
Let me begin from Kisii, because this is where I come from.
Yeah, that's your home ground.
Yeah. Whatever happened in Kisii, I will say that it's about objects of devolution. Because one of the objects of devolution is to give powers of self-determination to the people and enhance the participation of the people in the exercise of the powers of the state and in making decisions affecting them. So if the people of Kisii, through their MCs, because sovereign power is exercised at the national level and at the county level. So sovereignty was exercised at the county assembly of the Kisii. So the MCAs saw that these allegations about the DG were viable to remove him from office. And they executed that mandate legally. That was a legal process. Whatever happened in Kisii, right from the county assembly, it was a legal process. Now, when it came to the Senate, it was also legal. Impeachment, according now to the County Government Act of 2012. So if any state officer has been alleged to maybe for corruption, abuse of office, misuse of office, he should be impeached. So the people of Kenya, not only in Kisii, they did what is recommended by law. So politically, I don't know what it may bring, but legally, it was a legal process. Yeah.
Okay. So, Arnold, the heat between the bosses and their deputies, perhaps somebody would say that the first governors were learning on the job. Why not the second cohort of deputy governors?
Well, so far I think there has only been 2 deputy governors who've been dragged all the way to the Senate. That should be the deputy governor from Siaya and now the deputy governor from Kisii.
Monda, yes.
Incidentally, all deputy governors who've shown up before the Senate all come from Nyanza. Probably we're going to see Eastern and other regions. But then we've seen so many other governors coming to the assembly. The maestro of that being the governor of Embu then, he was impeached so many times. I think he exceeded the 9 times, the 9 lives of a cat. I'd really love to know what he's doing in retirement. He probably needs to recount how he was able actually to go around that. We saw that in Makueni, we've seen that in Nairobi. Actually, 2 counties who were able to actually have their governors removed, that is Nairobi and Kiambu, Babayao and Sonko then. We've seen so many others. Of course, Kawira has been, Kawira Mwangaza from Meru has actually been there. But like I said earlier on, Victor, that the position of the governor is increasingly becoming unattractive to politicians, especially career politicians, for the simple reason that in their own language they are saying that governors have now just become two things. A governor is a paymaster general, just paying salaries, or is the manager for pending bills. Somehow the first governors who came in, and of course the others follow on, and the liabilities of the municipal councils then and the county councils then were moved on to counties. So every county, very few counties do not have pending bills.
Yes.
There is the big burden. So they call governors the managers of pending bills and paymaster general. So if a governor is not bringing in proper governance tenets,
yes,
not bringing in innovation, does not have a good streak and brilliance to actually work out and bring in private sector funding and other innovative ways, he only remains a functional DC who has got a flag and a little bit of a budget. So their business becomes just to wait for the 15%. If you look at the nation today, you can actually see how shameful it is for counties that also revenue has actually gone down. That there were times when, for example, the county government, rather Nairobi City Council, raised much more resources when they didn't depend on anyone else. But now that we have got 15% coming from the national government, the minimum 15%, county governments are no longer working hard to ensure that they raise their own resources.
Yeah.
So they will always be talking, Nairobi has not remitted money, the national government has not done this. A time is coming when the people in counties will get tired with the lines about the national government has not remitted this. They will say, Nairobi, we know the money will come, but what have you done here? Because what we have are populist governors and county assemblies that do not want to ensure that those counties are working. We did not ask for devolution for purposes of receiving goodies from elsewhere. We asked for devolution so that then we are able to work on the things that we are working around on. We were supposed to grow our communities. We were supposed to grow our own counties and the areas we are coming from. But then what is happening at the moment is that then you continuously are going to get counties all over. They are lazy on source. No one is working to ensure that the people of a county can contribute to their own development. We are waiting for people in Nairobi to sit down and then share with us, the national government, then have push and pull.
Yeah.
So that can actually go around that. But then to the sticking question on the headline, or on the star, around the DGs and governors, it's also unfair for governors and county assemblies to expect the deputy governors to be like Form 1s in our days, where they were there to be seen and not to be heard. In so many places, you actually realize that deputy governors are only there to be seen, not to be heard. So therefore, you expect that the deputy governor wakes up in the morning, he checks if the governor is alive, and he goes back to sleep.
Yeah.
We cannot actually just stand deputy governors to be people who remain and hope that if there has been an act of God, that is when they raise. They are important members of the county executive. They are important members of those particular units. This push and pull is because sometimes, of course, people get ahead of themselves, where deputy governors all of a sudden become ambitious. Of course, everybody is ambitious. Then they start being used elsewhere. I do not think so much that Monda was actually impeached. I'm thinking it was a vote of confidence probably in somebody else and not necessarily Monda. Monda was actually the object through which that particular
that now brings me to
expression was done.
Yes.
So politics. And by the way, Wakili said, Naftali here says that impeachment is a legal process. There is the legal foundation to impeachment, but impeachment is purely
political.
A political process.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Could it be a reason or maybe a way to punish someone who is not, the way we would say, you wake up in the morning, Governor, how are you? You wake up in the morning, you're fine, then go back to bed.
You pledge loyalty and then go back to sleep. This is the point. That,
so it's a way of punishing a person who doesn't do that.
So for governors who do not toe the line, of course, then governors have got a way of teaching them a little bit of the fear of God. So that, like what has happened to Monda, Monda has actually been served a little just serving of the fear of God. He still has got room. He will go to court. He can appeal. and of course, I expect that courts can actually give him relief. And we are actually a very fair administration. There were days where impeachments, you are impeached and 45 minutes later on, 15 minutes later on, there's a gazette notice to that particular end. We are following the due process. during that particular time, he has got all the rooms to do. He can go to court, change that and everything else. So no one has rushed to actually go and gazette his impeachment yet.
So what really happens, before I come to you, Naftali, as per the Constitution of 2010, this is what really happens when a deputy governor is impeached. There is a vacancy that is all, will be, of course, there will be a vacancy in the office of the deputy governor. If the Senate upholds the Assembly's impeachment of the deputy governor, this will mean that there will be a vacancy in the position. And then when this happens, the onus is on the county governor to nominate a new deputy within 14 days. All right, MCS will then vote on whether to approve or reject the nomination within 60 days. So this is my question. So if the deputy governor, when this happens, the onus is on the county governor to nominate a new deputy within 14 days. So within 14 days would mean the moment the deputy governor is impeached, then the governor will have 2 weeks, 14 days to nominate a candidate to fill that vacant position. So if I nominate a candidate a day after, and then the impeached deputy governor goes to court 2 days later, what happens to the nominated deputy governor? Wakili.
Yeah.
Wakili,
Okay.
go ahead, kindly.
Nominated, he's elected.
No.
You'll pick.
He's read what the County Government Act says as far as the vacancy in the office of the deputy governor is concerned. Once he has been impeached by the Senate, now that apex impeachment body, then the governor has been given the power by the Constitution to nominate another person.
Just the same way he nominated the one who has been removed.
Yeah. So this nominee will be presented to the County Assembly.
Who will vote?
To be voted for or against within 60 days. Then after 60 days now, this nominee will become what? The deputy governor. Now he is asking, what if then Dr. Monda goes to court?
A week after the deputy governor had already picked somebody.
Yeah. Let me tell you what happens in court. In the court, once you do that, then the court has the power either to give relief on conservatory orders, declaration orders, injunction orders. You see, a court may defrain the governor from appointing a deputy, may refrain him from nominating a person for this position until this case has been heard and determined. So it depends on how, when will it take the court to hear now this redress by who? By Dr. Monda, so that now it can determine and allow now the governor to do what? To nominate. In fact, if Dr. Monda goes to court today, the court will do what I'm saying. It will now distract who? The governor from any nomination until, because we have fair hearing. You know, one of the progressive
and he'll assume office with full powers, quote unquote.
He will not assume office. In fact, he's going to assume office after now, after the case has been heard and determined. Yeah, because he was impeached. Now, the impeachment is in around. Yeah. So once the redress is applied in the court has the prerogative to listen, to hear, and determine the matter. So if the High Court listens, then it makes a judgment. Dr. Monda again has the right again to appeal to the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
Then he has a right to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, that Supreme Court is what will be the game changer. It's like what happened to Songo. Songo went to the Supreme. And the Supreme, in fact, invalidated what? His plea. That is why Songo was not able to vie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Live feed from State House. There is something that, gentlemen, you can pick from that live feed. Those are doors. Can you see that there's that metallic door? There's a window on the right to the left where there's aid there. There must be a metallic door on the right. There's a metallic window. And then just, oops, all right. effects of having a live feed. And that side, there is also some wooden doors. And then at the auditorium, there you have it. Now you can have a clear picture. Those are metallic doors.
Those are actually construction props put in there.
Yes.
That we are moving on.
Exactly.
It's a prop set up to demonstrate
to signify that there's something. It's basically this.
That we are tuko job, tuko was.
You can look now as you are zooming out. That's another wooden door. All right, on the left, zooming out, metallic wooden door. Those are the doors. Now you have a clear picture. Very good. So it is here.
As in the housing project is on.
It's here. You see now? Yeah. Naftali, now you picked it. Those are windows. They look so good. Naftali, we can we look for the artisan, and then the other side, and the people who are sitting at the audience there, they have their overalls. I think this was Bibo Mayango something.
Yeah.
The president also had something like that. Perhaps I can get you. It was here on the front page of the Standard, something like this. I think that's what we're talking about. There you have it, the president, the overall. So when you see this, kazi imeanza. Yeah. So it's more or less the same thing. It's more or less the same thing. There we have it. It's the train is almost leaving.
No, as in we mean business.
Yeah, Arnold.
There's no stopping.
The train is almost leaving.
It's not
left
almost.
yet.
We are on. When you see doors, you see windows. We are not starting.
No, it's almost doesn't count. We all know this. Almost doesn't count.
That's what I'm saying. We are on. It's not almost, we are on.
I love the way you're putting we are on.
As a nation,
yes,
we are on.
We are on.
This project, we are taking it to fruition.
Yeah.
Because we are going to transform the nation. We are going to get jobs. We are going to solve the problem of housing. Because what we have here is a small team of people who are able to actually go around the housing. That is why housing in Nairobi is very expensive. In urban areas, housing has even devolution has not really so much helped the cost of housing by hoping that people would go to the counties and probably that then would leave a few people in town. Nairobi is still experiencing that particular pressure. So we need this worked out so that then we can also liberate land and put it under agriculture. Because what we have, like in Nairobi, we have got a very big problem with what I call the urban sprawl.
Yeah.
You don't know where Nairobi is going to stop. We are now headed to Lukenya on the eastern side. Athi River and Kitengela are almost merging and hugging each other. They will become one. On the other side, Athi River is fast catching up with Mlolongo. Mlolongo has now linked up to Nairobi. So it's one continuous urban sprawl going on. We need to come up with proper and innovative solutions. And like it has always been said, the solution of our housing is in the sky, building upwards so that then we can liberate land for agriculture. Yeah. Our agricultural land has actually shrunk. When we were young, it was 16%. As we speak now, it's only 8%. So the arable land that we actually are using, we need to come up with a proper way of solving these housing problems so that we also liberate land for agriculture and other uses.
All right. So there we have it. So anytime from now, the president will be coming to the podium and making this perhaps is going to be the biggest news of the day. Givers Maina is in State House to give us updates and later on in a subsequent bulletin to give us the details of that. But be sure to get that live feed from State House with President William Ruto. This is going to be one of the biggest news. And it's just quite interesting to see how the public is going to receive it, as well as the political class, how they're going to receive this, and the legal battle and any other thing that might follow this particular bill that will be sent to law in not too long from now. What's going to be with it as we speak. So there we have it. Gentlemen, it's road now, rubber meets the road. I mean, you've correctly put it, you have no option right now, Naftali, Pole, you have no option. With Arnold Maliba, it's obvious, yeah, we all have to do this. Once become law, then all employers will be obligated to abide by the law.
Actually, Victor, don't put it as an employer's thing. Employees are putting in their 1.5%, employers are matching it. Every other Kenyan is invited to this national transforming project. Forget the politics, forget the venom. This is a national transforming project. It has got far-reaching consequences. And we will not see Kenya as we've actually gotten used to it. We're going to change the country. We're going to create jobs. Some of you have got jobs here. As we are seated here in the studio, guys have got jobs. But we also have got a duty to ensure that our brothers and sisters out there who do not have jobs also get on board. And this is one way.
Yeah.
We are here today, including the facilities we use here, by the way. KBC, for example, is state-funded, right? We are here because some other people's taxes went to work. We are here and we are working here because some other people also contributed to this. So the Commonwealth that is a nation is the effort of many people. I don't know how well I can actually say that, but it's important. Enterprise Kenya, Project Kenya, is this particular element where all of us meet challenges together and we benefit from fruits together. It's good. We do politics. That is how we do dialogue. What you have seen out there, that is just a robust dialogue through courts, in the streets, on political platforms. But at the end of the day, the business of building the nation must continue. And this is one such.
Yeah.
I just want to rally Kenyans out there to actually support the president, to support the party, to support Kenya Kwanza in actually achieving this. As we start, it's a little bit not there yet. We've had false starts. But now that we go back, we have now taken back the train to the rails. Let us get it running.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me get your final remarks. Naftali, we've done from 7 to 9:34. Right. Let me get your final remarks.
The people of Kenya are going to make an exodus. Simply an exodus. They are going to move out. The exodus here is to move out from poverty. You know, SDG number 1, Sustainable Development Goal number 1 is no poverty. Then number 2 is zero hunger. Number 3 is good health and good well-being. There are 17 sustainable development goals. The people of Kenya, through this housing bill, are going to make an exodus. Do you know, during the exodus, and allow me to envisage what has been contemplated in the book of Exodus, chapter 14. It's only Moses who had that vision, that indeed God is going to create a way where there could be no way. But these other Israelites did not get it. So the Israelites were complaining to Moses, what is this? Where will we go? How will it work? Look at the sea. So this is what is happening. Most Kenyans do not know how this housing bill is going to work, but they are architects. The president is one of them, plus the entire Kenya Kwanza, Arnold, Maliba, and the rest. They have this thing, how it will work out. They have the blueprint. This is to sustain ourselves and to alleviate our sufferings as far as sustainable development goals are concerned. In the book of Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, Moses answered the people, and I quote, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still."
Naftali, who are the Egyptians in this particular case?
The Egyptians in this case, let me explain. In fact, I was coming. The Egyptians are those who were doubting.
But they were so adamant, they didn't want to leave. The Israelites didn't want to leave.
No. I'm saying they did not understand how they're going to move with this Red Sea, because there was no way. And the Egyptians are following them.
Yes.
Because Moses only had the revelation from God.
Yeah.
He was able to tell them that, be still. You wait, I am in control.
Yeah.
Then that way was created.
Perhaps they were suffering from the fear of unknown, right? I think that's what we are suffering from, fear of the unknown.
Not really. This is national dialogue. I wouldn't want to refer to the Kenyans who are doubting as the biblical Egyptians in this particular case. These are our brothers. By their contribution, by the way, they have actually added value to this particular project. We now have got amendments included here. We have county committees to ensure that county interests are taken care of. They've also spoken to other people, to other issues, including bringing the cost down and everything else. So on value addition, it's important for us to remember that the politics we do is our way of making the state better. So whether you opposed, you went to court and did whatever, you contributed to making this project possible. We should not demonize other people. We should not look at them differently. It is the way we actually come up. It's the way of the Constitution.
All right. My colleague Hashim, is also joining me very shortly on set to take the wheel on News Check, of course.